So I'm Robert Baker from Potentia Talent. That's my own firm I set up after 40 years in the corporate world as an HR consultant, working on talent development and more latterly diversity and inclusion. So I've always been passionate about gender equality. I've been on the boards of women's networks. I'm still on the boards of various ones and just joined European Women on Boards as a new board member there. So the reason I'm here is I'm so passionate about diversity and inclusion and women rising and leading. Well, our panel is about reimagining workplaces and roles for setting employees up for success. And I think there's been a lot of change certainly since the pandemic in terms of how people are looking at this. What we know is that workplaces used to be defined by the employer, and the employer said, this is where you work, this is how you work. But employees are now starting to say, well, actually, we want to work differently. We want to work more flexibly, and we want more policies that help us live our full lives and fit in our home commitments as well as our work commitments. So that's going to be one of the things that we talk about. And for example, the fact that roles need to be rethought really now. Maybe should be more flexibility in roles so that people can do a combination of working from home and working in the office. That basically they even think about splitting roles now so that people could job share. I think people are interested in all new ways of rethinking how work gets done. And I think smart companies now are starting to rethink how they actually structure jobs and roles, and indeed that they need to also build more inclusive workplaces. Well, I think basically what we're seeing is employees not committed. We've seen people leaving in droves during the Great Resignation and the Great Rethink, as they called it. We're now hearing this phrase, quiet quitting, and employees are saying, listen, we'll only do as much as it takes to stay in our jobs and no more. So I think there's a real issue with employee engagement. And all the surveys that I've seen show really low levels of employee engagement in their work. And so if companies want to basically engage their employees more and basically get their employees to achieve more, then I think they've got to look at these workplaces and the policies and the roles, and they've got to do a better job of making them more attractive so that people actually feel that they're motivated to come to work, they're motivated by the work that they do, and they're very happy to be working with the company that they're working in. The gender equality discussion is very important because obviously women, over half the population, still not participating at the right levels in leadership and management. And what we notice is that companies that have more women in leadership actually seem to do better. They're more innovative, they're actually more profitable, and actually they're more fun to work in. And what we saw during the pandemic was that companies that had more women managers, the employees were actually saying, our managers actually cared about us during the pandemic, how we felt, all the issues that we had. And that desire to have managers and leaders now that really connect with them on an emotional level is becoming, and is staying to be really important. So I think, what we know is that men can do that, but women can do it brilliantly as well. So I think these are many reasons why we need more women in leadership and right at the top as well to have a very different perspective on how business gets done. Yes, I think having more women in leadership basically brings a number of things. Firstly, it brings a very different perspective on things like risk, for example. So we've seen some companies, very male-dominated, take quite significant risks. And if I'm a shareholder in that company, actually I'd quite welcome having women on the board because it means that I'm going to get a more rounded discussion on risks. And also women just kind of come at a lot of issues differently to men, to sort of stereotype it a bit. And I think this, the balance of views, the fact that there might be differing opinions, is a good way to have a discussion in a board. It shouldn't just be a bunch of men agreeing with themselves. They need to be challenged, and bringing women into the board, not just one, but several women into the board, and hopefully 40 or 50% of the board should be women. Then they're going to get a more balanced debate, and it's going to actually protect the company, help the company to perform more sustainably and better over the long term. So the first message I think that's come out very clearly from this conference is that women have every reason to be bold about what they can achieve in leadership and in management, that they should really believe in themselves because women are amazing, basically, and yet often we find that women don't put themselves forward as much as men do. They hold themselves back. They don't apply for roles that they could easily do. So I think, there's that thing about women being, kind of bold about what they can achieve. And then I think it's about looking at your network to see, okay, who can sponsor me, who can help me achieve, the role that I want to achieve. One of the things that I do, I spend a lot of time mentoring women to help with those kind of issues. But I think within a company, a woman could find, for example, a very experienced male leader to mentor and sponsor her, and that's a really good way of then sort of easing your path to the top. Oh, well, one thing I would say is it's really important for men and women to choose the right partner in life, because one of the big discussions we've had here at this conference is actually about the balance between home and work. And if you have both partners working, that means also both partners need to have a commitment to the home as well. So one of my first pieces of advice would be actually, whether you're a man or a woman, consider very carefully who your partner's going to be, if they can support you in your career and your home aspirations, and that they're sharing on that. And I think from that, it's really, as I said, to encourage them to dream big. I think we heard it this morning on the panel, dream big and go for your goals.